Hey there, lunatics, and welcome to Orbis. This is Hytale, and we are going to go over a little bit of a beginner's guide to just help you guys out, help you get started in this game. So when you load in, you are going to find yourself in this beautiful little temple, and there's lots of cool things that you can do from the start. But first thing, you probably want to do a little bit of game configuring. So if you open up your settings menu, there's a few things that you might find important or helpful for you. For example, by default, show enemy health bars is set to off. Now, if you want to see your enemy health bars when you're in combat, you're going to want to switch that to on. You also can control your various HUD and hotbar settings here if that's something that you prefer to do. Over in the gameplay settings, there's a couple of really useful ones in here as well. For example, auto step up is defaulted to on, but if that's something that you're not a big fan of, you can switch it off. And if you have arachnophobia issues, there are spiders in this game, so you can turn arachnophobia mode on or off. By default, your preferred pickup locations for all of the items that you pick up in the game is going to be set to hotbar. I've switched all mine to inventory so that it doesn't clutter up any open spaces in my hotbar. You also can change your camera preference because you can switch between third person and first person. By default, it stays on first person. I have mine changed to remember last used. You can also, in the general section, I forgot to mention, you can adjust your field of view, which is something that I know a lot of people like to be able to change around. And if you have motion sickness issues, you can adjust the bobbing effect and the camera shake, both in first person and third person, just turning it on or off as well. So hopefully, those of you who have issues with motion sickness can fix some of those problems. In the controls area, you can also change what you prefer your crouch, sprint, and walk behavior to be. Me personally, I like toggle, but that's just me. I know most people prefer hold, and hold is what it's set to by default. So you may not have to change that, but if you do prefer to be able to just toggle these things on and off, here's how you do it. You also can, of course, fully control your button mapping here. Now, when you're in this little starting cave, there's a couple of things that's actually good to do right at the beginning. Like, I personally recommend that you pick up some of the stone rubble that you find on the ground. And if you want a little bit of extra decoration, you can break this statue. Now, it'll take a second since you're just using your fists, but you can break this statue here and you can enjoy a nice, cool looking statue at your base when you finally get it put together. I also highly recommend that you grab this candle right off the bat because that will give you a light source in the dark. If we open up our inventory here, we can grab our candle and place it directly into one of these offhand slots. That allows you to store your candle in your offhand while you also have something else in your main hand. Holding down Z allows you to change that so that if you want to toggle between a light source and eventually a shield or some other item that you may want in your offhand, it'll be available right here. Open the door to leave, and here is the world. Now, I also recommend that if you like some of the cool decorations, go ahead and break this door here, because you're probably not going to be coming back to the spawn location very often, unless you don't set your own spawn at some point. This will be the default spawn otherwise, but you can take this medium overgrown door and you can use it for other things in your own base. It's a really cool decorative piece that you cannot craft at this time in the game. Now, once we step out into the world, there's a whole bunch of stuff to do. Just like Minecraft, you can punch the trees, you can punch the rocks, you can punch the dirt. It'll get you what you need if you hit it, but you don't have to do that. You can come over to some of this overground grass areas here and just punch that, and that will get you sticks and plants a whole lot quicker, whole lot easier. Once you have a few sticks and plants, open up your inventory menu, and you can already craft some pickaxes, hatchets, and swords. All you need is rubble, plant fiber, and sticks. We picked up some rubble while we were inside the main area, and we got our sticks and we got our plant fiber from beating up the grass. So I'm just going to craft myself a pickaxe. Eventually I'll find a little bit more rubble. They tend to hang out where there's large clusters of stone. So if I come over here to this stone area, yep, here's some stone rubble. So I can just pick up more of that, no problem. If you hit M on your keyboard, it opens up the map of the world, and you can get kind of a decent view of what you have around you. So you can see here to the south, I've got a big desert area. I've got this like azure forest right here. I've got another azure forest far to the north. And then I've got this like slightly different forest, autumny forest area over here to the right. Lots of little options, lots of great stuff. But what's really important is this temple right here. So I'm currently just east of the temple. This is where I am. This is where spawn is. Here's where the temple is, just to my west. You'll notice at the top of the screen, there is a compass, and that big swirling section is where you're going to find that temple. The first thing you want to do is head straight for that temple. The main reason for that is because it is going to get you access to a really, really important item of this game that is kind of like an animal codex in many ways. I'll show you what I mean. So when you reach the temple, you're going to want to go in through the center building, and you'll know that you're there because you've got this statue with this little white flame. Incidentally, you can break this white flame. You can also break this statue, take it with you, and even this block if you want. Now you got a cool decorative area. In this temple, we're going to go straight down these stairs, and you're going to find a portal. Now, there is this elemental guardian here, and he's a little too tough to defeat at the start of the game, but that's not a big deal. Just ignore him and head straight through the portal. This takes you to the Forgotten Temple. Now, you can't break anything here. Doesn't matter how much you try. You also can't hurt any of the creatures here. Like, we got this cute little guy here. I can hit him all I want. It's not going to do anything. This whole area is protected. But why would you want to hurt anyone here? I mean, this is a gorgeous little peaceful place. Just head down the stairs and head straight over to this camp. Here you'll find a couple of traders. Now, this trader doesn't really have much on him right now, but this trader does. You aren't going to have any essence of life right now, and that's the currency that this guy charges. So there's really nothing to worry about on this guy right now, but he does give you spices. He gives you some food items, some crops, mostly just stuff to help you heal. So if you need that stuff in the future and you're willing to trade your essence of life for it, that's the guy you trade with. But what you really want to do is come to the center and interact with the memory module here. Click on Discover Memories, and this lets you get a view for every single creature in the game. The more creatures you unlock, the more little bonuses you get for your crafting and increasing the amount of teleporters you can have in the late game. It's really important to unlock this early because there are some rare creatures that you may encounter. And you can see I just collected a memory from a frog. You'll see that on the lower right-hand side. And as I walk around in this area, I'm just going to be collecting all of these memories. Now, there's a limited amount of memories that you can collect at a time. I don't know the limit off the top of my head, but I think it's 25. So once you've collected a whole bunch of memories, then you have to come back to this memory statue. Return to the statue, record your memories, and now you can see that the bar has moved up, and you can look at some of the creatures that you have found. There's not a lot of details in here right now, but at least you're collecting your memories and you're able to turn them in. This will be really, really helpful. So if you do this right away, it guarantees that you aren't going to have to go back and hunt for and find more memories at some point in the future for some sort of rare mob that you just didn't get later in the game. Now, once you've returned through the portal, I returned and ran up the stairs so that the elemental here wouldn't be aggroed on me anymore. There are quite a few objects down here in this little cavern that can be really useful for the early game, like these lights, for example. Or, all the way over here on the right, there is a chest. You can open this chest, and there's usually something good, like copper armor. We got some gold ore. I've even gotten a copper pickaxe and a copper axe from these things. Then you just break the chest because, I mean, that's a cool looking chest. Why wouldn't you want that? Hold on to that for future chest joy. We got another candle here. That's very useful. And there's even a secondary chest over on the right. Now, it's a little harder to get this other chest without aggroing this guy. Yeah, like I just aggroed him. But if you hurry, this chest isn't as good, but it still has some decent stuff. He can't kill you in a single hit, fortunately, so you can take a couple hits from him, even at the beginning, and just run away, come up the stairs. He won't follow you. Everything in this room is also destructible. So if you like these benches, if you like these statues, if you like these pillars, I'm going to take that apple and take this fruit. We want this water bucket. You can take all of this stuff. If you want to leave it here, go ahead, leave it here. But you don't have to. It's all really good stuff and you can get it for free. Just rip it down. Now, real quick, let's go over the menu here. For new players, you've obviously got your hotbar, which is buttons 1 through 9. Just going to take all this stuff off of my hotbar. It doesn't really belong there. Equip these gauntlets. Over here on the left-hand side is your armor. And then you have got your basic crafting area here, which allows you to craft a campfire, a bedroll, some torches, a wooden chest, a workbench, a builder's workbench, and then just some basic tools and weapons. You can view any of the collected memories that you currently have. Oh, and I see, I was actually incorrect when I said 24 memories. It's actually 48 memories that you can collect right now. I'm not sure if that number changes, but 48 is what it is at the time of this recording for the early game. We've got our basic stats: health, stamina, mana if you're casting spells. You're not going to be casting spells in the early game. And then, of course, your defense. Defense just decreases the amount of damage that you take. You can see that we've got a health bar and a stamina bar right above the hot bar itself. So that gives you a quick and easy interpretation of your health and your current stamina. You can sprint very easily, but that drains your stamina bar. And resting or just walking will very quickly regenerate it. So you've grabbed the memories and you're ready to really start exploring the game. What do? Well, the first thing that I recommend doing is making sure that you have a crude axe and a crude pickaxe. Pick up a couple more rubble here. Oh, we found a couple of pigs. They are not aggressive, but they're really cute. And right now I'm just missing some sticks. Once you have a pickaxe, an axe, and a crude sword, you're pretty much ready to take on the world. No, that's not true. You will die very easily to certain creatures. Now, healing in this game is done really differently than in like Minecraft, although it does kind of remind me of early Minecraft when it comes to the healing. You'll find these red bushes, that they're berry bushes, and you can pick wild berries from them. These will serve as a pretty decent early game food. If I look at them right here, you can see that it gives you 5% of your health back and then grants you health regen 1. Now, what does that do? It gives you a little heal over time. I'm just going to eat a couple berries. I right-clicked in order to eat them once I had them equipped in my hand. And you can see I instantly regained a little bit of health, but more importantly, right next to the Z button on the lower left, there's now a heal over time meter that is slowly going down. If you eat more berries, it's going to give you that 5% boost again, and it's going to refresh the meter. It's not going to make the meter any stronger. So then you need to decide where you want to go, what you want to do. This is a sandbox game, and you can explore anywhere here on the map that you want to. Now, you're going to be starting in kind of a central area and exploring outward, so it's not a bad idea to build your first little starter home somewhere here in this like central area. I recommend going maybe more toward mountainous regions. We see all these hills and mountains here. If you're close to an azure forest, that can be helpful, but there's nothing that helps you build in the azure forest. It's more for alchemy and food and other things. So you don't have to go toward the azure forests. They're enticing, but they're not as good as you might think they are. Coming down into the desert region, however, might not be a bad idea. So maybe the good idea is to move a little bit to the south, build here in the starting area where you're comfortable and you're not going to get killed. And that gives you the ability to start to roam into the desert once you get a little bit of copper or iron gear. As you're exploring, you'll find multiple little POIs scattered throughout the area. Those are points of interest for someone who doesn't know that acronym. You can see in the distance here, we've got a little hut. So I'm just going to go ahead and take a look at this hut. And there are trolls guarding it, trolls and wolves. So I need my sword, and this may be a little strong for me. I may not be able to do this, but you can block in combat here. So get in a couple of good swings, make sure you're blocking, And there's also a power attack. If you hold down your attack button, you can do a charged attack. Now, you will lose stamina every time you block an attack, so you're going to want to be careful about that and make sure that you're keeping an eye on your stamina bar. Some creatures hit a lot harder than others, and they all have their own unique attack patterns. So keep an eye out. Some of them attack a couple times in a row before they stop. And every creature drops its own unique loot. A lot of them tend to drop a lot of early game stuff like bone fragments or linen scraps, things like that. You'll use those for just basic crafting recipes. Just note that during this early game, you're not going to have a lot of quick healing capabilities, so keep an eye on your health bar. You may need to back out of a fight, rest for a bit, and just let your heal over time do its thing. Now, mob spawning in this game does not work the same as it does in Minecraft, obviously. This game looks a lot like Minecraft, so you'll hear me compare this to a lot of Minecraft stuff. But lights and torches, things like that, do not have any effect on how spawn works. Certain mobs will spawn within certain points of interest. Other mobs will just spawn randomly throughout the map. And at nighttime, you get a totally different group of creatures that spawn. Void monsters, and ooh, I'm dying here. And I died. So if you die, you are going to lose 10% of your durability, and you drop half of the items that you had on you. So it'll tell you everything that you dropped. All that stuff will just stay right by your body. When you respawn, you'll end up at wherever your spawn point is set. By default, it's the initial spawn location. And you can see on your compass exactly where your gravestone is. So it makes it really easy for you to run back to your body and collect all of your stuff. Now, after you get back to your body and collect all of your stuff, you're still going to notice that death marker is still on your compass. So if you want to get rid of that, all you have to do is mouse over the marker, right-click on it, and click Remove Marker. And that marker will go away, and you no longer have to worry about it. One thing to be aware of, and that I was saying as I died, is if your stamina completely runs out, you cannot block again until your stamina fully regenerates. Even if your stamina has partially regenerated, it's not going to allow you to block or be a blow until your stamina bar maxes out. Then everything goes back to normal. So you're going to want to take that into account when you're in combat. And if you completely run out of stamina, you may need to run away, do some healing, and then come back to the fight. Little locations like this are really great spots because they all have areas of loot. You can break all of these crates, and while most of them are empty, you'll find some basic loot in them. There's often a chest somewhere, like here we go. Here we've got a small lumberjack chest. Give us some various loot, including a shield, which is great. We can add that to our Z button. And so now if I hold down Z, I can choose candle if I need some lighting, or I can just switch to a shield, and that'll give me better defense. You'll also find certain structures and things that you may not normally be able to craft, like this cool little cage. I can't craft that. It's a chork cage. But I like it. Maybe I want to do something with it. So you can break it, and you can take it with you. Here I found a rare item. Sometimes you'll find these in the POIs or off of the creatures that you kill. Now in this case, these Chork Warrior Gauntlets give me +7 to my health, add to my projectile and physical resistance, and increase my charge attack damage by 3%. As opposed to these Copper Gauntlets, which only add 4 to my health and 3% to each one. So I'm getting better defense, I'm getting a better health bonus, and I'm getting a bonus to my charge attack damage. So let's swap these out because these are definitely better armor. Now, I do not recommend setting up bases at any of these little points of interest because the mobs will respawn. Even if you turn this place into your base, you're periodically going to have to deal with trolls. So it's not a good idea to be here. As much as it would be cool to maybe set this up as our starting area, it's just not a good idea. The starting section of the map is riddled with little cave entrances like this, where you'll just find a hole in the ground and it'll suddenly take you down into a cave. And the caves down here are where you're going to find your first sources of copper, and as you go deeper, your first sources of iron as well. You'll also find that there are some creatures in here. Bats are non-aggressive, But rats are aggressive. Fortunately, they're pretty easy to beat, and they drop light hide, which is a really important early game ingredient. So it's not a bad idea to come down into these caves and get your hands on some light hide from a creature that's relatively easy to kill. Ore in this game is really easy to detect as there's these little gemstones that stick out and they shine in the darkness. So as long as you've got a light, you may notice a little shimmer off in the distance, and that lets you know that there's some ore nearby. And you just use your pickaxe, just like in Minecraft, if you've ever played Minecraft, and that'll get you your copper ore, and eventually it'll get you your iron ore if you go deep enough. And in other biome areas, it'll get you different, more higher end ores as well. Once you have a couple of light hides, you're gonna want to craft yourself a crude bedroll because nighttime comes on quicker than you want it to, and the night is dark and full of terrors. There's no denying that it is beautiful out here, but you will find a lot of skeletons and undead creatures and weird void monsters that can rip you to pieces, especially during the early game. So while you can explore around at night, it's probably not the best idea. The first time you click on your bed, it's going to set the respawn point, and then the second time you click on it, you'll actually sleep. If you aren't able to sleep yet, the game will tell you, and it'll tell you when you will be allowed to. It doesn't take long for morning to come, and you can just pick your bed up. Might need the axe to do it faster. Yeah, axe is better. And then we can move on. If you know where you want to go, you can open up your map and use right click to set a location. Now you are going to have to do it a couple of times because unless that location marker is yellow, it's going to disappear the moment you close your map. So you can see I've right clicked the place marker and then I click select location. Now the target location is yellow, and when I close my map, I can see it on my compass, giving me easy directions to the area that I want to go to. And if you encounter any mature wheat or other crops, I highly recommend you harvest them because you'll notice I get the crop and I get something called Essence of Life. Essence of Life is used for a whole lot of things in crafting, especially on the food side, so you're going to want to get as much of that as possible. If you notice that you're going to probably get into a fight, it's not a bad idea to eat some food to get your regeneration going. And then when you're in the fight, if you get hit, at least you know you're going to be healing throughout the battle. It may not be a lot of healing, and it may not be enough to turn the tide, but at least it's better than nothing. Unless you get jumped. Some mobs will follow you across the water, but not all of them. In this case, wolves don't like the water, so if you cross a river, they will stop pursuing you. But other creatures like skeletons that we can see over here in the distance, they will follow you in the water, so be careful. So I found this great little spot here. It's open plains, it is easy and flat, it's right next to the water. There's an azure forest in the distance. There's a huge POI over here in the distance that I can use to farm for creatures and for interesting loot. But overall, it's also got a pretty good forest around it as well, while also giving me a nice clearing. So this is a good spot to set up camp. First thing I want to do is build a builder's workbench. This takes tree logs and stone. Now you'll probably have found some tree logs just from roaming around on the various points of interest and things like that, but if you haven't, all you really need to do is take your axe, come up to a tree, and destroy the bottom part of the tree. Destroying the bottom destroys all the rest of the tree, and then you can just roam around and collect everything that drops. It's going to drop wood, sticks, leaves, and sap. And what I mean by leaves, I mean plant fiber, because I don't know how to speak the English. So just start collecting wood because you're going to need the wood to do all of your crafting. And there's also a bunch of stone around here. So grab your pickaxe and just start harvesting the various stone. This is chalk. Chalk is absolutely useless. Let's not harvest that anymore. Instead, we'll come over here to some of this cobblestone. And there we go. These really broken up ones are going to give you stone rubble, which are not great for building structures with. But it is good for getting large amounts of rubble, which you do need for a lot of crafting. With these mossy bricks here, this will give you mossy cobblestone, and you do want that mossy cobblestone because it looks cool, as well as regular cobblestone. You'll find that as well. So since my inventory's full, I've got that chest that I grabbed early on, and I'm just going to place that down real quick and throw a few items into the chest so that I don't have to worry about them for the time being, and it opens up my inventory. Then we craft that builder's workbench, put it in your hotbar, and that lets you place it down. Now, the builder's workbench is what lets you make all sorts of cool stuff. You could just make something out of cobblestone and whatever trees you break, or you can put it in the workbench and that gives you access to more stuff like the lightwood planks, the lightwood ornate planks, the lightwood decorative planks. You've got half slabs, you've got beams, you've got stairs, platforms, roofs, gates, fences. There's all sorts of stuff. There's even tables, trapdoors, etc., etc. And you'll find different stuff depending on what you put in here. On top of that, let's say we turn our brick here into decorative stone brick. So let's make all 8 of those. And then I take this decorative stone brick and I put it in here, and I have a different selection of stone stuff. But what if I don't want the decorative brick? What if I want the regular stone brick, or I want the ornate stone brick? Well, once you have made the brick in one form, and this goes true for wood as well, you can just click on this left-hand side and just turn your 8 decorative stone brick into 8 regular stone brick. You don't have to craft more or find more. It just gives you a lot of flexibility. Beware though, once you craft your stone brick into one of these other items, you cannot turn it back into regular stone brick. So only when it's in its default form does it give you the option to just swap it out with whatever you prefer. Now, if you hover over your wood, you will notice that, for example, this birch log says light wood on it. And if I hover over this oak, it says hardwood. Now, that means that in most cases, and there are some exceptions, but in most cases, you're going to get different things that you can turn the wood into. Like you can see, I've got these light wood planks of various types, as well as this blue roof with these crude items like the crude window, crude ladder, etc. But if I switch over to the oak logs, I get a completely different set. I get hardwood planks, ornate hardwood planks, decorative ones, and the patterns are different. The color of the roof is different. The pattern and the look of all of the doors, windows, ladders, etc. are all different. And there are multiple different types which give completely different looks for whatever you are crafting. When it comes to crafting, there's a setting in the menu that I definitely recommend that you adjust. In the general settings, if you scroll down to block placement preview, I don't remember if by default it's set to none or multi-part. I think it's set to multi-part by default. I recommend changing it to all, because once you do that, when you're placing blocks down, you'll always get a preview of the block. And so then that just lets you place everything down and you'll be able to see where it is before you place it. Now, one thing I really do like about this game is that when your pickaxe or other tool breaks, like mine just has, it doesn't go away. It just becomes less effective. And you can repair your tools with a repair kit. Now, I don't recommend repairing any of your tools until you are using iron tools, because the repair kits themselves require iron to craft. So in my opinion, it's not really worth it to repair any of your stone or any of your copper tools. Now, I've just made a very basic little hut here. Let's grab that cool little overgrown temple door. We'll just place that right here, and that works really, really well. Yeah, so it's just a little basic starter base. I got to give it a roof. I got to maybe give it some flooring, but it's a start. It gives you a place to call home, and that gives you the ability to also craft your workbench. I got my workbench. I got my builder's workbench. And if we come over to the regular workbench, there are some tabs here at the top. One of these tabs is the crafting tab, and this lets you make all of the different crafting workbenches that exist in the game. Some of them need copper in order to get started, like the blacksmith's anvil, and the armorer's workbench, as well as the chef's stove. Some of them need your workbenches to be upgraded. Like, for example, the salvager's workbench requires that your regular workbench be tier 2. You'll notice over here on the right, it says workbench tier 1 and tells you exactly what you need in order to upgrade it to tier 2. Obviously, we need a lot of iron and we need a lot of copper. We're going to find those in the mines. The workbench is where you can also craft the copper hatchet, the copper pickaxe, or your iron ones, and so on, down to all of the really fancy endgame stuff. You can also craft a few other things like rails, mine carts, training dummies, spike traps, defensive things such as that. You also can craft a backpack here. Now, you do need iron and medium leather, but you're going to want to push toward this backpack as soon as you can because it will unlock extra slots. And the backpack's a little counterintuitive because once you do get the backpack, it's not like you equip it anywhere on you. You put it in your hotbar and then you use it as if it was a food item or something like that. You'll end up right-clicking. When you do that, this little locked area here that says unlocked by crafting a backpack upgrade, this will suddenly open up and you'll have more slots available in your inventory. Once you have a furnace, if you open that up, you can power the furnace with wooden sticks. You can also power it with wooden logs. The sticks go quickly, the logs go a lot slower, and then you can put 2 different stacks worth of materials in here. So I've got some copper ore and some iron ore. Turn it on, and it'll start smelting from the first one on the left, and then once it's done with everything there, it'll move on to the one on the right, and it'll start smelting all of that. You'll get charcoal as a byproduct, which you can also use as fuel, but is also used as an ingredient in several crafting items. The tanning rack works kind of similarly, only you don't need a power source. Just take any hide that you have, light hide, medium hide, heavy hide, whatever you have, place it inside the input section, and it'll immediately begin to tan it and turn it from hide into leather. Now, if you've played Minecraft before, this won't be anything new to you, but if you place 2 chests next to each other, they will turn into a double chest, and the amount of storage that you get from them increases dramatically. You'll also notice up here at the top of each chest, there is a take all, a put all button, and a quick stack. So if I have, like I've got this oak log in here already, if I click quick stack, all the oak logs in my inventory will immediately drop into this chest. You can also sort the items as well from this button here. While you're out exploring, one thing that I really like about this game is the fact that your ability to jump and climb up large surfaces is actually pretty decent. So you can normally just jump 2 blocks high without any problems. If I try to jump 3 blocks high, you'll notice that my character climbs up. The same is true as if I try to jump 4 blocks high. I try to jump 4 blocks high and boom, I'm still able to do so. But if I want to jump 5 blocks high, it's just not quite enough. I can't quite get there. You can get some better height by using some of your charge attacks. So you just got to practice it a little bit. So the sword's charge attack kind of lunges you forward a little bit. If you jump while you're doing it, it'll lunge you up. So if I'm standing here and I charge and I jump, then I'm able to jump up those 5 tiles, no problem, and it gets me up to that higher level. Same is true for daggers, which give you a leaping attack as well. It's a different mechanic, but once you practice it a bit and get used to it, it can get you up 5, 6 tiles or even let you jump across different gaps, and it can be a real lifesaver of a skill to learn. And the last major beginner thing I really want to touch on in this video is farming. So you have a farming workbench, and in this you can craft the crude hoe. Once you have some iron, you can also get a watering can as well as a wooden bucket. You'll also notice in these tabs up here, you can craft seeds. So you need essence of life in order to craft seeds. In some cases, you also need some of the crop itself. So for sunflower seeds, we need sunflowers and essence of life. But for wheat, we just need essence of life. There's also, if you want to replant trees, there is the ability to replant your trees by crafting saplings. Again, it takes that essence of life. One thing that's really cool is once you get your farmer's workbench upgraded to level 2, then you can start turning your crops into Essence of Life. And that creates kind of an infinite cycle where you can take some of the crops that you get, turn those back into Essence of Life, then take some of that Essence of Life, turn it into more crops. And so you get this just cycle of being able to make crops and make seeds, make more crops, make more seeds. Eventually, you'll get access to eternal crops, which don't go away when you harvest them. But at the beginning, you're not going to have that. Also, it's worth noting that crops will grow just fine in planters, but they grow very, very slowly in planters. So I recommend that what you do is you first get yourself a crude hoe. And then you use that hoe and right-click, left click to get rid of this extra grass here. And you right-click in order to dig out some space. Then grab whatever seeds you have, place those down, and let it grow. Now, in Minecraft, you may be used to making sure that there's a water source right next to it. So you may try to dig out some ground and put water next to it. That doesn't do anything in this game. Having water next to your crops will not help you. If you want these to grow faster, and by the way, you don't need water for these crops to grow. Just this that I've done is enough. Eventually, these will grow into the full crop. But if you want to grow it faster, you're going to need a watering can. You bring it over to a water source to fill it up, and then you just bring it over to the crop itself, and you'll see that it got a little bit darker. The area is now watered. Now, if you don't put any seeds down after a bit of time, then you will lose the tilled section. It'll just turn into normal dirt. So make sure that you're keeping your seeds constantly being replenished, or, just don't worry about it and you can retill it later if it turns back into dirt. As you can see, the crops have already started growing. It takes a little bit of time, so just place those down and be patient. Since cooking is how you heal, you're going to want to make a campfire to start until you're able to get your hands on an actual cooking station. And then you just cook your meat. All meat right now currently just turns into cooked wild meat. Doesn't matter if it's raw pork, raw beef, raw random rat food. It all becomes cooked wild meat. And that gives you a 5% health regen boost, as well as the health regen 1 and health boost 1, which increases your max health, as well as increasing your heal over time. These are definitely really good starting foods, and if you find yourself near a water source, you can do the exact same thing by hunting fish that you'll find in the water. I don't see any right now, but all you got to do is go into the water. There's one, and you can, let me grab my sword. You got to swim down into the water a little bit. Keep an eye out for your breathing meter because you don't have a lot of breath. Come here, you. And then you just kill your fishy, and you get raw fish. It works exactly the same, but instead of giving you cooked wild meat, it gives you a cooked fish product in the end. Looks just like this, grilled fish. But it's exactly the same from a quality standpoint. If you want to get extra health instantly, as well as those increased health regen boosts like health regen 2, health regen 3, things like that, you are going to want to craft a cooking station. And again, you craft that cooking station over here at the workbench. Here's one's chef stove. It takes 2 copper bars. Let's go ahead and craft it so that you can see what that looks like. And here you can make a variety of things. We have got fruit skewers, mushroom skewers, so be sure to pick up those mushrooms. We've got vegetable skewers, meat skewers, and ultimately what it's going to give you is it's going to give you health regen 2, health boost 2, and a 10% boost rather than a 5% with boost 1. So getting these is a significant increase for you. All right, guys, I know this was a little bit of a long video, and I do apologize for that, but there's a lot of things to go over, and I have just barely skimmed the surface of what you can do in Hytale. So get out there, explore the world, explore the map, and you will find yourself getting everything that you need in no time. This game is a lot of fun, and you should expect that there will be a lot more videos where I go into a lot more detail about what you need to do for much more specific stuff. So if you have any comments, questions, or suggestions about what kind of videos you'd like to see next, please be sure to leave that in the comments section, so that helps me prioritize what I'm going to be doing. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay crazy, everybody.